Welcome everyone, my name is Ryan and we are playing Unreal World today. We are returning to this classic game. I've featured it a bunch of times on my channel. I've got several full playthroughs, and as you can see, it was developed all the way back originally in 1992. Just came out with an update recently too, so it is still supported by hardworking Sammy here. That's him right there in his elk costume. But like I said, we're going to jump in, have a little fun with this episode. Just try a one-off video for this. If you guys would like to see a full playthrough, let me know down in the comments. Of course, make sure you hit that like button. And if you're a new viewer and you're interested in this game, subscribe to the channel too. Because like I said, there's going to be a whole bunch more content linked down in the description of this video if you finish this episode and you want more Unreal World. But let's jump in. If you're unfamiliar with it, it is a roguelike game, open world RPG set in Iron Age Finland, and it's got some spiritual supernatural type elements to it, but really the focus is on hardcore survival. So we're going to jump in, create a character real quick, and get started in the world. So let's do this, folks. Now I do have a tutorial series on this too, so if you're new and not sure exactly if you got questions, check out some of those videos, because I'll probably go through these parts here fairly quickly, but you can also drop your questions in the comments too. So we're just going to go, we'll just do custom. That's the most difficult way, yeah. So we'll just do a custom. We're going to go with the Camo culture. Again, I've got a video that goes through every one of these cultures. It gives the benefits and downsides for each. I like the first one here, the Camos, so we'll go with them. We'll choose a male. And what's the character's name? Oh, always the hardest part. All right, there we go. How about Gargamel? I love it. And what kind of a picture do we want for Gargamel? You know what? I think this one actually feels really appropriate to me. Yeah. Okay, let's go. Now here's the second choice, I guess. The cultural choice will affect your gameplay. Male, female, not so much. Name, no. Portrait, no. But the season is a big one. This is where you're going to start off easy or difficult or very difficult. So I'd say the easiest are probably the autumn. You're going to have a big availability of berries and stuff like that. Spring, you're going to start with snow on the ground, but within a week or two it's going to start melting and you're going to be off to the races. So it's not that difficult except for like the very, very start of it. Winter's also somewhat like it ramps up. You start in late fall before the snows have really set in. Summer, believe it or not, is a challenge because it's very hot and there's not a lot of crops like in full, ready to be, harvested at this point. Let's try a summer run here. Yeah. That way we don't have to stare at a bunch of snow either. All right, now this is obviously going to be very important for our character. We've got height, weight, the strength, and all the different physical profiles. We have the ability to re-roll it randomly here, and that's it. I can't, unfortunately, put points in or distribute anything. I can tell you that you want a fairly big character if you're planning on moving stuff around. The bigger, the heavier they are, the stronger they're going to be. And I can see his speed's not great, but that's going to be tough to get, especially with one of these big old Camo guys. I actually kind of like this physical profile here we stopped on. It's not bad. Yeah, again, the speed could be a little bit better with the eyesight, but I've got a specific goal in mind for today, so I think that this guy's going to do just fine. Let's go ahead and say yes. And okay, so this screen, we just are being presented with the spells and magic means that we have. So we don't choose anything here. We can look at it and read about what it describes it. But yeah, really, we're not too worried here. We're just going to move on. And okay, this is the big one, the skills. Right at the very beginning when I selected custom versus custom easy or custom too easy, that very first choice is dictating here what we have. So the most difficult only gives us 5 points to start with. If it was too easy, we could remove points and add them on, but here we're stuck with this and we just have 5 options. 5 points to place. So let's do... I think we're going to... Yeah, we're not going to be doing any combat skills. Let's just say... maybe a little bit of stealth. Do we do stealth? Okay. And we'll just go for a bit of tracking too. That's good. And the hide working's always nice. And let's see. Fishing, no. Herb lord, nah. Cookery, that's good. That'll help us prepare the meats and stuff once we finish. Hopefully got ourselves a kill. And we've got one more point. I never use weather lore, so let's go ahead and try a little weather lore. This is a very different build than I normally go with, but yeah, I'm happy with this. So now we're going to be loading up the world. Here we go. So we can re-roll the world, but it stays very much in the same shape here. This is Finland, and it's going to change that layout of the forests and the water, but yeah, the overall shape. Some of the mountains might change too. So we're looking at the white here is the mountains. The dark green is the lowlands, like the marshes and stuff. And yeah, everything in between. Then, of course, the blue is the water. Here we are, this little red dot up here. Now, let's see. Let's turn on the cultural indicators. We can see each one is listed in a different color. The purple ones here down by themselves, these guys are the enemy. They're the hostiles. So we could visit any one of these cultures and be totally peaceful with them. We could choose to fight them, but that's not smart. But the purple, they're going to be hostile towards us and all these other cultures. In fact, I have a series where I dedicated the entire playthrough just to wiping out the Nurpezit. So check that one out if you want to see a very warlike playthrough. But not today. We're going to be focused on hunting mainly. So let's randomize our locate. Actually, you know what? I think I want to restart this world. Yeah, I like to have a lot of nice open flat land, which is going to be that dark green, and I don't want a bunch of blue here. So if we look, we can randomize the world with W. And again, it's going to stay primarily the same shape. This is looking good up here. Let's look at the cultures. And also, if you're curious, this lime green, that's our home culture. If you hit H, you can randomize your start entirely within your home culture, which is actually kind of a, wouldn't be too bad, except there's a lot of water. Let's re-roll this world one more time. It's looking a little bit better. I like this region down here. If in terms of trading with the different civilizations, these guys here, this aquamarine or teal color, the Drick is who these are, the Drick culture. Let's see, yeah, Drick. They're the most wealthy, so they're going to have the best armor and weapons and stuff. So let's re-roll. Here we are up here. Oh, okay. I was going to say let's re-roll till we get down here kind of close to the Drick. I'd rather be in this region, though, so... Again, this is one of the... Ooh, there we go. This is one of those instances where I really wish it would allow you to just manually place your character, but... Okay, so yeah, if we zoom in here, we can get a little bit more detail. We've got a pretty decent river system, and this is a village. That's what those are. But we're going to start somewhere in this red circle, so let's confirm that with E to hit enter and play the world. Okay, so one of our final options here is the scenario. These are going to give you everything from a fairly middling start to an easy start to a really, really challenging and near impossible start with Runaway Slave, for instance. This one basically starts you in a combat situation with no weapons. But we're going to split the difference. We'll just do the generic, the Unreal World. And yes, that's what we want. Boom. Now, okay, this is probably the final of the choices. This is kind of like a tutorial or game guide. They will also give you some items and things like that if you follow these. So if you're new to the game, start with living in the wild, and then go, with another character, because you're going to probably die a couple of times, but try advanced adventures once you complete this. I'm going to hit escape. We're just going to go for this. It's important to note this can be reactivated at any time. So if you do decide, you know what, I need a little help, I'm not sure what to do next, just you can access it in game. All right, escape and escape again. Here we go. We're almost there, people. It's just going to show us the encyclopedia. We can refer to this for various different info and lore, but we're not going to do that now. And here we are in the Unreal World, people. So we're on the world map now. Let's go ahead and zoom out. It's good to play zoomed out for the most part. I'll try and zoom in occasionally here for cinematic purposes, but we need to get a full view of our surrounding world. And just like any true roguelike, our vision is limited to where our character can see. And if we look, it's hard to see it here, but there's a little yellow arrow indicating which direction he's facing. All right, so let's get to it. Let's just take a quick look at our inventory. We've got a fine knife, a spear, and a rough splitting axe. Okay. Also, he's wearing a pair of leather boots, rough woolen trousers. That rough modifier means it's not the best quality. And in addition, he's got a fur shirt. That's actually kind of nice. 7-pound fur shirt, plus a linen tunic, a cap, and some socks. Yeah, since we started in summer, we might be able to take advantage of this fur shirt. Food-wise, we start with a little bit of bread, some bird meat, and a smoked hare. Okay, and that's not very much. That'll last maybe like 2 days. So we're going to have to start thinking about survival right away, folks, right away. Let's do it. Let's do it. And we're going to move out into the open pine mire. Well, take a look at that. We've got ourselves a herd of reindeer just popped in. Okay. Normally, when we first start, you can see animals right away like we have here. I would try and get a campsite established first, but we've been blessed. So let's just jump right in and see if we can encounter the reindeer. There we go. So it says we encountered them. We're going to push space to continue. Now we go from the world map to what's known as the local terrain map. Again, I'm going to zoom for full visibility. When you're hunting, it's critical. You have to play it fully zoomed out. If I'm zoomed in, for instance, there's literally a half dozen reindeer right now that are, I can't even see. So yeah, we need to be zoomed out. So speaking of the reindeer, we've got our choice. You can see that this is a type of animal that travels in packs. Not all animals do, obviously, but the reindeer gives us a lot of good options. So we're going to look at some of these animals. We got a small one there. Obviously, none of them are injured or hurt in any way. But I'm just kind of getting a feel for what we're looking at. All right, so we might as well chase this one that's directly in front of us here. Yeah, this one right here. So the goal of today's episode is to kill a large game animal like one of these reindeer here, but we're not going to use a weapon at all. Obviously, I do have my spear, so I could throw that if I wanted, if I had confidence, but we're not going to. We're going to try and exhaust this animal and then just finish it off with our knife, which is technically a tool, not a weapon. But like I say, no bows and arrows, no throwing, just our cunning and skill versus the reindeer. So again, let's zoom out, and I'm going to go into sprint mode. Okay, the animal's also sprinting from me too. I'm keeping my eyes on the target creature, even though we've got a bunch in front of us. Okay, I'm going to stop running. We need to maintain our stamina here. That's this negative 10%. If this reaches negative 100%, we're stuck. We're dead in our tracks. We're super tired. We would have to rest at that point. So we really want to avoid that. All right, let's move. I think this was the animal I had my sights on. Yeah. So really important to note here, this animal is not injured, but it is a little bit fatigued. Again, that's the goal for us here today, is to get this animal breathless. And it will say breathless once it's at that point. An animal which is so fatigued that it's breathless, we can just walk right up to it, essentially. All right, so we're going to chase this one again. I'm sprinting now. Trying to keep the animal spooked, essentially, is what we want to do. All right, I'm going to stop sprinting to conserve. Okay, there he is. She. It's a she. Uh-huh. She's still slightly fatigued, so let's keep the pressure on her. What she's trying to do is reconnect with her herd. She's trying to get back to the other reindeer. You can see there's a little one just up ahead there. That little one, it's also slightly fatigued, but obviously the calf's not going to give us as much meat as the mother would, so there she is. Okay. Yeah, okay, and she's spooked again. I'm going to stop sprinting. Trying to be very careful and reserved with my sprinting here. The good news is whenever I stop sprinting and we're just walking, it actually does allow us to catch our breath a little bit. So you'll see this number go down as I just casually walk after it. That would not be the case, too, if we were walking through snow. I should note, in the winter, it's difficult to walk through big snow drifts. Okay, let's start sprinting again. It's not that I'm necessarily trying to force her, away from her herd. It's just actually really convenient because I can kind of predict where she's going to be going. If I know the herd's behind me, she's going to be trying to get to it. Okay, and there's her tracks. Good, good, good. Let's take another look at her. What's her condition? She's fatigued, so that's middle of the road. The next, it's better than slightly, but it's not quite as good as breathless. The next step is going to be very fatigued, and then after that, she's going to be breathless. So we're almost there, people. Let's really start sprinting after her. We just crossed to negative 44. Keep the afterburners on. Okay. Let's stop sprinting. Okay. Her tracks are kind of splitting. I think nope, I saw her. She's down to the south. She was in my vision there for a second. Now, it's asking, because I just approached the shoreline, it's asking if I want to step into the water. I'm going to go ahead and do that. It's the summer, so it's not a big deal. If it was this early spring or winter, yeah, you don't want to get in the water unless you know there's a fire nearby. But this will just save us a few steps here. All right, so there's her tracks. And what the heck? Oh, okay, there she is. I was going to say, she's very fatigued. Good, good, good. Yeah, let's go ahead and sprint after her. Pretty soon we should be able... Oh, please don't go to the end of the trees. Oh, no. Okay, we got to stop sprinting. Yeah, see the tree line up ahead? There's her tracks. Oh, no. She's headed straight for the woods. There she is. Okay, she is breathless now. That's good, that's good. But we still don't have this one in the bag yet. See the tree line on the left? There's potentially trees to the south, too. As she gets into this thick forest, hunting her and tracking her becomes exceedingly difficult. So let's really put the pressure on here. I'm going to start sprinting. Okay, and we can probably zoom in a little. Yeah, you can see she's trying to sprint right now. She's just not able to, so I'm going to stop sprinting. Currently, we're not wielding anything. We have 2 empty slots here, left and right hand. So I'm going to go ahead and wield with the W, the fine knife. And this is just going to be once we get into melee. We need something other than our fists to take her out. So you could try and do it unarmed, but it's not that bad to use the knife on her. So what we're going to do now, we are in melee range. We have the ability to attack. I'm going to select the knife, indicate the direction. What aspect of the weapon do I want? This is a little tip here to preserve the fur of the animal, because once we kill her, we're going to skin her, take her fur and prepare it so it's nice and we can trade it away. In addition, we'll also butcher and get a bunch of meat, but to preserve that fur so it's not filled with a bunch of holes and slashes, we're going to use the blunt. end of our knife, and I'm not going to cut her at all if possible. And my strategy is to always go for the legs of the animal first. It's a little bit trickier to hit them, and you might miss, but what happens is if you do hit them, she falls to the ground, and then she has to use her turn to stand back up. So instead of like running or trying to turn and attack me, she simply has to waste her turn, you know. So let's repeat that move. So now, okay, I repeated the command 2 or 3 times there to attack her legs, and she has fallen unconscious, people. That's it. Now it's time to deliver the coup de grace. So I'm going to now, it's asking what aspect of the weapon. Because she's unconscious, it's now saying we're going to deliver the final death blow as possible. Again, blunt to the skull. So it's not pretty here, people, but we're preserving the fur. Okay, so it wasn't a single shot. She's got a pretty thick skull. We're going to have to bash away at it here. A couple more times, probably. The bigger the animal, the harder it is to crush the skull for sure. And again, you could slit the throat. It would probably be a little bit quicker, but you're going to damage that fur. And there it is. So you can see there's a little puddle appears below her, and now I'm able to actually stand on top of her, which means she is dead. And you can see it says a reindeer carcass. That's great. Now, our boy here, Gargamel, is, yeah, he's strong enough to actually pick her up and carry that carcass around. It's 240 pounds there. That's a big one, too. But the only reason I say that is because we're going to want to bring it to a little location near some water. Well, there's water right here, so might as well, right? Yeah, we've got this tiny little puddle. It doesn't need to be a big lake, but in order to prepare the skin itself, we will need, yes, access to some water. So that's great. Great, great, great. Now, let's see. Yeah, let's go ahead and prepare the animal. We're ready. We've got our knife. So first things first, we could hit B to butcher it, but if we did that before we skin it, we completely waste the skin. So always skin the animal before you butcher it. And I've just done that. I went through real quick. I hit S to bring up the skills, then H to open the hide working sub menu, and then I'm going to hit S again to skin the animal. And it asked me to confirm it. Just took me 1 hour and 36 minutes to do that, but now I have a fine forest reindeer fur or skin, and this isn't ready yet. We can't just take this thing. You know, it needs to be prepared. And when you're tanning a fur like this, depending on the size, it can take days to finish. So it's not a one and done type thing. It's a process. Okay, so we've got the skin on us. That's perfect. Now we are safe to butcher the animal. And you can see she appears as like a skinned carcass. But now I'm going to hit B, and there's no choices here. We just butcher. Boom, there we go. So the bones, and I think her antlers, well, it was a female. Okay, she still had a couple of antlers on there. Those are left. We could use the bones to feed dogs if we were to purchase some hounds to go with us. Dogs will eat the bones. There might be some crafting stuff, too, that we can do with these. It's been a long time since I played vanilla. In the modded version of the game, you can definitely craft with that stuff, but we won't worry about that just yet. Now we've got ourselves a whole bunch of meat, too. 109 cuts, plus the fat. The fat's going to be used for the skin, so let's get to that, too. Now that we've got the meat, we're going to worry about preparing that here shortly, but first things first, actually, let's have a little bit of a meal. Yeah, you can see the hunger bar is starting to fill. And now that we know we've got a reindeer here with a bunch of meat, we're probably safe to go ahead and have some of our bread. Delicious. Okay, that filled him up. Nice little bite of bread. And we are somewhat thirsty, so we'll just take a drink from this natural source. Beautiful. Okay, nice little breakfast / lunch here. Actually, what time of day? Oh, it's noon. Okay, so that was lunch. Okay, very good. Now, keep in mind, the skin and the meat can rot, especially in the summertime when the temperature's super high. So when you kill an animal like this, don't go wandering around, doing other stuff. You really need to focus in on preparing the skin. So let's do that first. We'll go back to our hide working sub menu. No matter what our options, if we want to turn it into leather or if we just want to fur, we still have to clean it first. So that's what we'll do. And we need a knife and access to 5 pounds of water, which is where this little guy comes in handy. This is basically an infinite water source, so don't worry about the amount. All right, and that's good. We're still lively. We're a little bit fatigued here, so let's just rest a moment. Oh, there's a bird entered my vision. Okay, and now we're going to go back to the hide working, and we're just going to tan this skin. I just want a nice little reindeer fur. So leather is great for clothing and crafting, but skins are good for trading and crafting too. So let's do this. Okay, so now it needs water and 1 pound of tanning material. You will always receive enough material to tan the animal from the butchering process. There we go. Bam. And okay, it actually dropped it. Let me grab this stuff. We'll just pick that up. Okay, there you can see the skin is now on the ground, and if I were to stand on it and try to pick it up, it says the tanning reindeer skin will be ready by late evening. You may not pick it up yet. And keep in mind, this is not telling me it's going to be done by late evening. That first step in the tanning process will be done. So we'll have other steps to go through. But in other words, we don't want to leave the area for too long because this will still rot. If I were to leave here for a week and come back, this thing would be rotten. But let's focus on the food next. So this is where that shirt might come in handy. Well, actually, no. Okay, never mind. Forget about the shirt. No, we'll still take it off. I'm sorry. I'm being indecisive here. In a survival situation, you've got to consider all your options, but make sure that once you've made that decision, stick with it. So let's get ourselves... Let's see. Yeah, let's get a little fire going. So I'm going to come to this tree, and I'm going to cut down some branches. Okay, good. I got a little bundle of branches at my feet, so I'm going to grab those. I also happen to notice right here, there's a little stick. This isn't a tree, like a full-size tree trunk. It's a small cylinder tree trunk, so we'll grab that too. And, okay, let's just sit. We'll hang out underneath this little tree right here. I like to set up my shelters right next to a tree typically, and not too far from a water source. Okay, so we're going to drop the branches and the slender trunk on the ground. And I'm going to step back, and we're going to hit the F button and choose the direction where I want to start a fire. And he failed the first time, but he succeeded the second time. There it is. We got a beautiful little roaring fire. It's not the biggest fire. If I were to fell a whole tree and throw it in there, it would last all night. But this should be good enough to cook. So we're going to go back to our skills page and hit C for cookery. Now it brings up the cooking menu. We could preserve it for long term, but each one of these requires certain conditions or materials, like salt, obviously. Smoking, you need a building that can contain smoke and has access to an oven. So obviously we don't have any of that stuff. Drying can be done outdoors, but it has to be done in the cold winter months. You can't do it in the hot, humid summer and spring. So really our only option right now is to roast this over the open fire, baby. And roasting technically is a form of preserving the meat. It's just, it doesn't preserve it for very long, like a day or so, but it's going to make it edible. So we're going to select our pile, and I'm just going to hit enter for the maximum. That brings up 10. And again, this is similar to how the skin works. It takes time, so I can't quite pick it up yet. But it only takes a half an hour as opposed to like half the day. Let's go ahead and roast another batch. And probably by the time this is done, that one will be finished. No, not quite. We'll just repeat that. We're going to roast all this meat up. Okay. Not quite. See, it says the first batch will be ready shortly, and the other batch in a half an hour. Okay. Good. Yeah, now it's telling me it's ready. And we do want to pick it up because that can burn. Okay, so now There's still a bunch at my feet, but we have 10 roasted cuts and another 69 that need to be roasted. So let me whip those out real quick. All right, there we go. So I've got it all roasted, or it's being roasted currently, and that's a lot of meat. You can see 65.7 pounds. It's probably smart that we take that to the nearest village and actually try and do some trading. Now, if I open the world map, the big map here, we're that little bitty red dot right there, and you can see most of the world is black. It does kind of cheat, or it doesn't cheat, it just gives us the information about where the cultures are relative, but I can't see the cities, so we'll have to go there and kind of walk around to explore. But if you remember, there was a village right up here-ish, I think, roughly. But before we set out, yeah, we'll want to make sure that this skin is done and it's coming with us so we can trade this away too, if possible. So we're going to need to hang out here at this little site for a few days probably, which hopefully the meat won't spoil by then. I think we'll be okay, but we're definitely going to want to build a quick shelter here. That way, if it starts to rain, we don't have to worry about, struggling to fall asleep at night, because if you're under a shelter, you can get a solid 8 hours, no problem. But if you're not, the rain and snow in the winter is going to wake you up constantly. So first things first, let's identify some of the trees around us here. If you're not sure what kind of a tree you're looking at, because they did recently add new types of woods and stuff, you can just try and walk into it and it'll tell you there's a young spruce tree. So spruce is actually what we're looking for. Let's go to our building menu real quick. We're going to select skills and then B for building, which is the shelter option, is going to be under that right there. And if you're curious, you can actually build full log cabins in this game. It's quite a process, though. It's not an easy thing. It takes lots of tools and tons of lumber, but it is fun. It's a long-term project for you. Kota is a type of tent, too, which can be a good, quick way of smoking meats if you have enough skins. But either way, we're going to worry about the most primitive, the shelter. And I should point out that this is not going to allow us to smoke meat. You can't smoke meats in a shelter. Actually, I said it's the most primitive, but that's wrong. I think the post spruce is the most primitive, but we're not doing that. So if you're not sure what you need to build, the materials, just try to build it and it'll tell you. So we need 3 slender trunks and 20 spruce twigs to build this, and a cutting weapon, which we have. So we're going to take down some of the twigs from here. There's a bundle at our feet. How many is it? 12. Well, we'll need to do that again because it said we needed 20. Now there are 29. Perfect. We'll grab the whole bundle. And if you're wondering where do you get slender trunks from, there's 2 stages. Actually, there's 3 stages of tree growth, but the 2 we're concerned with is the full size and the young. So the young is what's going to yield those slender trunks. So I'm going to go back into skills, M for timber work or timbercraft, and then we're actually going to fell this little slender tree right in front of me with the F command. There we go. And that's actually possible to do with a knife only, but we just happen to have a rough splitting axe. Fortunate. Okay, so that gave me 5 slender trunks. That's pretty nice. Instead of trying to pick these up, because that's a little bit, that might be too heavy for our boy. So we're just going to move them with the M command. I'm going to hit M, and he's kind of rolling these along the floor. Rolling, rolling, rolling. Okay. We'll get it right up next to the fire. There we go. Yeah. Because most of this will go into the shelter, but there's going to be a few trunks and twigs left over that we can toss in the fire if we need to build it back up. Oh, and let me grab, the meat. I want to make sure none of this burns here. Beautiful. Okay. Yeah, we're carrying around 100, almost 80 pounds of meat right now on us. Boy, oh boy. Yeah, and that actually definitely affects our fatigue level. So you can see he's perfectly rested now, but he's got a handicap of -15. So if I were to drop all of those, Now you can see that handicap just went down to -5. That's a pretty big difference, you know. So if we were going to go out hunting and sprinting around, you really want to drop as much weight as you can, including your clothing, if possible. All right, so anyway, let's go ahead and get the shelter built. So we're going to stand on it. We'll go back into our building menu. Now we'll select shelter again, indicate up to the north of me. And now all these are checked off, so we can just hit space to confirm it. There we go. All right, look at that little shelter we've got. Yeah, it's not much, but there's no door on it. Like I said, you can't smoke any meat in it, but it's still going to keep us dry in a rainstorm. And I'm going to push these trunks right into the fire. You can see it was starting to get a little low, so might as well. Now, of course, in keeping with, you know, trying to stay light here, we're going to drop a few things. I don't need those twigs. I don't really need the antlers or the bones right now, so I'll just drop them. That's 8 pounds of stuff. We'll just drop them right there in front of our little shelter. And if I need to, I can push the twigs into the fire, so that's real convenient. But there we go, folks. So, let's see. A few more hours till we're ready for our next process. It is evening, so I'm going to have our guy Gargamel stay awake for a few hours, but once we get this finished, he's going to be ready for bed. All right, so our man Gargamel actually went ahead and took a little bit of a nap. He is vigorous once more, but I just did that to quickly pass the time. we're still got to finish this skin together, and it is ready, so we can now pick it up. Again, don't let it sit there too long because it will start to rot. And okay, let's go back into our hide working with H. Now we're going to hit the tan again. This will take us through the various stages. So tan, now we are just going to be soaking it, rinse and dry the skin. Okay, so yeah, we're rinsing it with 5 pounds of water. There we go, and it's once again dropped at our feet, and it won't be ready until late morning. It's currently early morning, so yeah, it won't take too long. We've got a couple hours to kill. Let's come up here into the tree line. There's something I want to show you. So I know from experience, there it is, that we're going to need a surface to beat this fur out on. The final stage is to take a rock or a club and basically beat the fur, and you'll need a surface for that. So this tree trunk right here is perfect, and I didn't have to fell this. We could have, again, because I do have an axe, but if you're starting on a more challenging start, it's good to search around and just find a quick and easy log. So I'll move that right next to my shelter, because again, that's a little bit too much for him to pick up. No, he can't pick that one up. But we'll move it to the shelter, so that'll be prepared for us. Now, we've still got other chores to do. One of the most critical components in Unreal World survival and any wilderness survival is cordage. So, I mentioned earlier there are 3 stages of tree growth. There's the big full size, there's the slender ones, which we cut down earlier, and then there's these, the little babies, which you can actually walk over the top of. That's how you know. And if I fell this, boom, there it is, little guy. These little spruce saplings, I've already picked up a couple, so we have 3 now. These are great for making a very primitive form of cordage. You're not going to be able to sew up nice clothings with this cordage, but if you're trying to preserve meat, for instance, this does work beautifully. So, oh, and also I just noticed there's a stone over here. Yeah, see that little gray? This guy right there. We'll grab that too. There's a rock. Yeah, we'll take the rock as well. Rocks are good for throwing at squirrels. Obviously, you'll need them for crafting down the road, so it's good to start a little pile of them in your shelter. And yeah, I'll go ahead. We'll drop those. Don't need to carry them around. And we're going to go ahead and make these saplings into cordage now, so we'll just keep those in our pocket. So, we're ready for a little bit of crafting here, people. Let's hit Shift plus M, and instead of going to the skills menu, this opens up our handicraft options. And where is it? There it is, tying equipment. Very important. Like I said, cordage, so important, it gets its own menu. And we want spruce withy. Withy is how this is pronounced, I've been told. And yeah, you can also use birch. You see there's a birch bark rope, leather, cloth. If I got really desperate, that shirt that I had talked about earlier, the first shirt, I could take this off and shred that and make cordage out of it too. And again, in a pinch, it's not a bad idea to do that. But all right, let's go back. Why? Spruce withy gives us 2 pieces for each one. We have 3. We'll just do all 3 of them. There we go. Only took about 15 minutes. And now you can see I have 5 4-foot pieces of spruce withies and 1 inferior piece. But the quality doesn't matter when you're preparing meat, which is what I plan on using that for eventually. Yeah, quality doesn't matter. If I was actually crafting, making clothing or tools or something, it would make a difference. It can impact the overall outcome of your craft, the level of quality of resources you put into it. But there we go. So let's just see. It's still early morning. Didn't it say late morning? Yeah. We got a little bit of time left. One thing you can do if you're just really out of things to do, I mean, there's usually always something to do, but time passes more quickly if you come to the world map. So if I just want to pass a little bit of time, I can come out, move up, move in. It might have passed enough. Now it still says early morning, doesn't it? All right, we'll fast forward to the late morning. Oh boy, well, it's not late morning, not quite, but I was out on the world map and I walked into a fox, and check it out, he's actually getting a little bit fatigued. Maybe we can take out this fox. Although, believe it or not, it's a little bit more challenging to take out the small game as opposed to like a big reindeer or an elk. For one thing, their tracks are harder to see. I don't even know where his tracks are. Yeah, if it's not like in the snow, it can almost be impossible to see a little game track like this. But they also seem to have a bit more endurance. You know, it's easier to wear out like a multi-100-pound animal versus a little 15-pound fox. Oh, there he is. Let's look at him. See, he's recovered. So he was a little bit fatigued, but he was able to catch his breath. So, yeah, chasing around these little ones, it's kind of futile. But squirrels are a different manner. You can often chase a squirrel into a tree and then just chuck rocks at it until you knock it out of the tree. That's a good strategy I've used many times. There he is. Oh, well, yeah. We will give up on the fox. It's not like I need the meat, right? All right. Well, it's actually afternoon now. Let's grab a little bit of meat here. We'll just take 10 pieces. Actually, I just took 1. That's fine. Yeah, but we are now ready. So let's grab it. Good. And time to, I believe the final stage is here. So we're going to move from the water's edge to the shelter. Again, we need access to this log and the stone. And we'll go back to our hide working menu. Tan. There it is. The final stage here. Yep. And it even tells us, it says, yeah, you start softening the skin by pounding, stretching, squeezing, and cursing. The final and most laborious stage of the tanning process. And we finished it. There we go. It doesn't drop at our feet when it's finished. It goes into the inventory. Oh, and thanks to the skill point we put into, I believe that's probably the reason why, during character creation, we have come up with a fine forest reindeer fur. That is pretty sweet, folks. That just means it'll be good for crafting, or it'll give it a little bit of extra trade value, too. Not too shabby, not too shabby. And speaking of trades, I think it's probably good time to grab our stuff and leave our little campsite. Like I said, I think we have a general idea of where there's a village up here. So let's just see if we can locate this. We move through the thick forest. We're not going to get a lot of visibility, but there we go. There must be a hill here. So we got a little bit extra, vision. Let's see. And whenever you see a village, if it's a full-size proper village, it will pause the game and tell you you've sighted one. But we're losing daylight. Oh, there it is. I can see it. Yeah, and it's not a proper village. It's just a tiny little cottage. There it is, though, to the north. But there's still going to be people here, so we will visit, and it'll zoom us in. All right, and we have zoomed in. Whoops, I just laid down to go to sleep by accident. I meant to zoom the camera out there. It happens once in a while. Hey, and look at this. An old man has come to greet us right there. Of course, he's not hostile, you know. As long as they're not part of the Nerpez culture, every NPC in this game is going to be at least neutral to you. And you can build up your friendship by talking to them, doing good trades, and even questing for them too. So it's a big aspect to the game, which again I've explored before in previous series. But I think that'll do it for today's episode. Like I said, it's just kind of a one-off here with the Unreal World. Unless you guys really want to see some more, you know, we could do some trading with this village here, or maybe even head over to Dricklands and see what a real civilization has on the trading block. But I just wanted to revisit this one again. I really appreciate you guys stopping by and joining me here. We had a very successful hunt, so I'm glad you got to see that. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're a new viewer, everybody, and I will see you on the next one. Thank you for tuning into the video, everybody. I just want to take a brief moment to recognize my Patreons. Thank you all for supporting the channel. Your donations really do help make my work here on YouTube possible. And if anybody else out there would like to support the channel, the link to my Patreon is down in the description of this video. You can join our Discord, meet me and the other Patreons with our small and friendly community. Thank you once again.